Okay, fantastic. I think we'll get started. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Web Editing with Ease and Efficiency in ArcGIS. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, we're just going to kick off with some housekeeping. Um, so as you may know, the webinar is being recorded and we'll share a link in the follow-up email. There also will be in that email a series of resources for you to make use of following the webinar. So please do check those out as well. We've also got a Q&A at the end of today's session. So that's via Slido. You can see the details on screen there for signing up. Please do submit your questions at any time throughout the webinar. You can also upvote questions because we can't promise that we'll get to every single question today. So please do make sure that you upvote those that you're interested in and we'll get to as many of them as we can at the end. Also included on Slido are polls that will be made available towards the end of the webinar. And we really appreciate it if you could fill that out just to provide us with some feedback for this webinar series and how we can make it better for you guys as well. And also, as you can see, I've got a whole host of different presenters to assist me in today's webinar. So myself, I'm Claudia Hodgson. I'm a GIS consultant here at Esri UK, and I'm joined by quite a few other presenters. So Catherine, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Catherine Fitzsimons. I'm a graduate GIS consultant here at Esri UK.
Hi there, my name is Molly Fergus. I'm a customer success manager in our architecture, engineering and construction team.
Hi, I'm Freya Butler. I'm a product engineer in the Suite and U&E team here at Esri UK.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. So today we're going to be focusing on web editing in ArcGIS. And you may or may not know there are a whole host of different ways that you can carry out web editing in ArcGIS. We've got the basic functionality and form-based web editing available in Map Viewer. We've also got a series of app builders which support a degree of web editing, including templates and instant apps, widgets and experience builder, as well as the latest update to dashboards brought some web editing capabilities as well. We've got a brand new app on the scene, ArcGIS Web Editor, which will be focusing on one of today's demos. We've also got Suite for ArcGIS. Now, this is another dedicated app for web editing, and its key focus is on getting editing with accuracy first time and every time. And then we also do have another application, U&E, which focuses on web editing for utility networks. Now, for that reason, we won't be focusing on U&E in today's webinar, but if it is something that you're interested in, there will be links in the follow-up email for you to have a look at regarding that product. But for the rest of this webinar, we're going to be focusing on those other web editing capabilities across ArcGIS. And so straight away, I'm going to hand over to Catherine, who's going to introduce the capabilities across Map Viewer and our app builders. So over to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Claudia. The ArcGIS system has many ways in which users can make edits to their data in post. Editing in Map Viewer is a powerful way to manage and update your spatial data, as well as importantly, being able to control how and when these edits happen. I'll be taking you through some of the key features which allow you to control editing in a feature layer in Map Viewer, how you can make the edits themselves and the configuration involved, and then examining how these features extend through the ArcGIS Online system to one of our web applications, dashboards. To example these key editing capabilities in Map Viewer, I have created a fictional ecology layer which has been carried out, ecology survey which has been carried out across the UK. As an administrator, I would like my users to be able to update the pre-existing data as well as add and delete data. The top image on this slide shows the interface in the settings pane of a feature layer. Here, the administrator can check on or off for editing capabilities for their users. As a note, this is a brief overview, but if you would like an in-depth discussion of the configuration of editing layers levels in ArcGIS Online feature layers, we will link a previous webinar in our resource section. Editing levels determine whether you can add features, delete features, update features, as well as drilling into whether users can update attributes only or also update feature geometries too. You can even dig in and determine which fields can be edited. In the lower image, see that a field called reference ID has been configured to be not editable. This will be included in the workflow later. Further still, when we reach the dashboard section, I will show you how you can toggle on and off whether you want to be able to edit this feature layer in a dashboard through a widget. So switching over to my demo. Now with a feature layer named Ecology Survey within a web map, I will go on to show you how users can add, update and delete features with meaning using configurable forms in Map Viewer. Now there are a couple ways which you can edit data in Map Viewer, such as through the edit button on the right hand side. Today, as per the recent June 2024 ArcGIS Online update, you can add, edit and delete features through the attribute table. So I will show these capabilities in this way. So firstly, I will navigate into and open the attribute table of my feature layer. To delete a feature using the interface, I will use the pencil button here. See that if I selected delete a point, a warning comes up, as this is a permanent action. If I delete this data point, it is removed, so I will have made a direct edit to my feature layer. To update a feature, again, I navigate to the pencil button, and all the fields appear here, which I could edit and change information as I see fit. Now, to add a feature, again through the attribute table, I can select to create a feature here, and I can zoom in and select where I want this point to be. Once I select where I want the point to be, I can then input all the fields relevant according to my ecology survey. But for my use case, it is not necessary for me to fill in all of these fields. I would like to narrow down what the user can add or update as needed. So how can I control this? This is by creating a form, you can specify what fields a user can edit. Users can configure forms with various calculations and hints. So firstly, I will open up the form window. On the right, you can see the form builder featuring form elements and fields. Firstly, I will drag and drop in reference ID. And as mentioned earlier, this is a field that I configured to be not editable. So this has a tag saying read only. And if I drag and drop some other fields that I would like to configure, you can see that I'm already building up a form quite easily. I will select into the date field, and as you can see, there's some formatting that you can do. And what I will do is I'll make this field required. So now when a user is updating this row, they will be required to fill in the date. However, I would only like users to be able to update specific ecology data, such as the type of ecology and ecology index, if there is in fact an ecological presence. This field can be input as a yes or a no. So if I select into the type of ecology field and go into the logic settings, I can create a conditional field. And this is as simple as a drop-down menu where I can select ecological presence, and if the answer to that, the input to that is yes, then this field will then appear. And I have this preloaded, so I can select that in here, and I will continue that same expression into this field also. You can also configure a more complex condition, such as automating a calculation of a field so that a user does not need to do this every single time. So ecological index, I have preloaded in an arcade expression. Arcade is our lightweight expression language to create a calculation on this field. So now this field is read-only. Users won't be able to edit it. It is visible on the condition that each ecological presence is yes, and it is also a calculated expression, so it will automatically generate an output for the ecology index. Now, if I go back to my feature layer and carry out the same actions as before, so if I go in and I want to be able to update one of my points, you can see that the configuration that I've put into my form is carrying through. So I cannot edit my reference code as this is read-only. I can still edit key features. And if I go down and now say that this feature has no ecological presence, you can see that the related fields now do not appear. So you can see now how I've configured a form to guide the editing process. Once you've configured a smart form in a web map, it'll be picked up by our web applications. So to take this further, I will switch over now to a dashboard, which I've created from this feature layer. See here that I have two widgets, a web map widget and a serial chart widget. I will go in and toggle on or off if I want to be able to edit this feature layer in this way. I will toggle on, which means I can now edit this data. Now, using the simple interface of dashboards, I can select in, and this will just filter through points according to the type of ecological presence. And then I can go in and easily select a point and go in through the pop-up and edit this data. And as you can see, the configured form pulls through to my web application. I cannot edit the reference code. And if I select down and select that there is no ecological presence, the not relevant terms now do not appear in my form, guiding the editing process further. To close out my section on editing in Map Viewer, I have some key considerations to highlight. Editing in Map Viewer is available at contributor user types and above. I have shown that the latest updates allow more flexibility in editing fields and attributes, and also how you can drive meaning in the process of editing and post with SmartForms. All of these editing options are core options readily available in your portal. Finally, editing control and configuration flows through our web applications. Not even discussed today are other web applications such as Instant Apps and Experience Builder and how you can edit attributes in these also. Now going to build on the editing capabilities through Web Editor, I will pass on to Claudia.
Fantastic. Thank you, Catherine. So I'm going to be introducing the new ArcGIS Web Editor. So this is an app available with the June update of ArcGIS Online, and it's coming soon to the next release of Enterprise, so 11.3, which I believe is this month. So as the name suggests, ArcGIS Web Editor is dedicated entirely to your editing workflows. And so it has some additional tools and capabilities to the map viewer that we've just seen. So let's jump straight into ArcGIS Online. And you can find the web editor by navigating to your app waffle. As soon as I open this, you're going to think, well, this looks exactly the same as Map Viewer or very similar, and that's because it does. It's been designed to have a familiarity and simplicity in its interface to kind of help you from the start with this new dedicated editing tool. So firstly, I'm just going to add a map that we'll be using today, and then we'll do a quick whistle-stop tour of this interface. So down on the left-hand side, we've got tools that you might expect similar to Map Viewer. So we've got Layers, Base Map, and Legend. And then on the map interface itself across the top, we've got a series of toolbars. We've got the selection tools. We've then got an editing toolbar, so create features, attributes, and then other capabilities such as move, vertices, reshape, and split. On the right-hand side, we've got functionality like copy and paste, as well as snapping options. And then both corners in the bottom, we've got tools for navigating around our map, such as zooms and directional pads. So with that whistle-stop tour, before we actually crack on with any editing, I first found when I was testing out this new application, there were a couple things that was good to have set up and be made aware of before editing. The first of those is that if you're editing any attributes of features, whether those are existing or creating new ones, it's done through forms in the map viewer. So you need to have those configured before bringing your map then into the web editor. The second is to control which layers you actually want to have selectable for editing. So on our selection toolbar across the top here, under selectable layers, you can control exactly which layers within your map you want to be able to appear in your selections. So I can go ahead and deselect any of those I'm not interested in. And then lastly, and possibly my strongest of recommendations, is to head to the Settings tab under Shortcuts and make sure you've got Enable Shortcuts turned on. This opens up this button along the bottom here, Shortcuts, and it's got a library of different keyboard shortcuts for you to make use of throughout your edits. So there are quite a few here, so I recommend familiarizing yourself with them, understanding which may be good for you in your editing workflow, sorry. And I'm going to be using quite heavily some of these editing constraints along the bottom here. So these allow you to actually set specific constraints at the time of you drawing. So do I only want to draw something at a specific length or at a specific direction? I can control that and kind of edit with confidence in those tools. So let's close this and let's have a look at our map for this demo. So we're going to be focusing on estate management for this demo, and you can see here we've got a university campus and they're working to digitize the green space to map it out and understand its extent. So we've started to do this already, but we've got more areas to add. So let's go ahead and add in a green space feature by clicking Create. And I can simply specify the feature I'm wanting to add, in this case, estate green space. And I can simply get drawing. You'll see there's other drawing tools available, such as right angle and freehand as well, allowing me to draw, whoops, any any shapes that I need to. As soon as I click create there, that's then confirming that edit, and you'll see it's going to go away and it's applying the symbology that I've already got for that layer. Now, let's say, for example, I've realized that this is an entirely green space and I need to go back in and edit this. I can use the select tool to select on my feature, and you'll see this opens up additional editing capabilities. In this case, I'm going to use the reshape tool and the subtract reshape tool. And let's say that within this green space, I know there's 6 meter square that's actually already been used for other utilities. So I'm needing to go in and subtract that from this edit. So again, I can start drawing. Now what I'm going to do here, and you're going to have to believe me that I'm clicking Tab D on my keyboard. And that opens up the distance constraints for me. So this is one of the keyboard shortcuts that I mentioned. And I can type in 6 meters there. And you'll now see no matter how much I try and extend this drawing, I can't go beyond that 6 meter. So I can then confidently draw this square. I might use the rectangle drawing feature. I'll click Tab D again to confirm that 6 meters. And I can close out that edit by double clicking again. As soon as I do that again, it's going away, and you'll then see that it's removed that 6 meter from my existing green space. Let's move on to another area and showcase some other functionality. This time I'm wanting to expand the computer space that I've got on this building. So again, I'm going to click Create Features. This time I'm going to change to a IT space, and I'm going to turn on the snapping tools this time. And you'll see here I can actually control which layers I want to be able to enable the snapping for. In this case, units. And as soon as I bring my cursor close to this feature, you'll see I'm getting this feedback, this orange feedback telling me that I'm snapping to that existing feature, making sure that I get no slithers in my data, and I can confidently start to draw out this extension. Let's go with that. Now, as soon as I double click to confirm that drawing again, you'll see I've now got additional things that I need to fill out. This is because this layer had a configured form, as Catherine showed in the map viewer. Some of these are already filled out for me, thanks to arcade functionality, again, which Catherine showed. And I've also got a couple others that I can fill out myself. For example, if I change the description, or in this case, the subject of this area, it automatically changes the symbology for me, which is a really nice functionality. Jumping across to one last area of campus and one last functionality that I wanted to show you is the amount of selection tools that the web editor has on offer. I've already shown the rectangle selection tool, but there's also the polygon tool, allowing me to set individual vertices around features that I want to select, as well as the lasso tool, allowing me to draw nice and quickly the areas that I'm interested in. As well as that, I can also append to my selection. I can subtract from it as well. And don't forget those keyboard shortcuts as well, such as if I hold down my spacebar while in selection mode, I can navigate the map and select more features. Not only that, there's also a selection tab, allowing me to have a look at individual assets I've selected. I can remove them from the list if I want to, and I can also hover over to see exactly where these assets are located on my map. Clearing that selection, just to show one last functionality, the Select by Attributes feature. This allows me to actually specify exact layers that I'm wanting to select by attributes, such as my streetlights across the estate. But I can also dig in deeper, such as I'm only interested in streetlights where the last inspection was, let's say, around March last year. 2022, sorry. As soon as I then click apply, you'll see it selected 20 features across my entire estate. And as the manager, I could then decide that all of these assets need to be deleted from my estate management map, and I can go in and start creating new features to update these assets. I really hope that that has shown some of the kind of additional functionality that the web editor has, and its dedicated editing interface as well, hopefully guiding you through those edits with its similarity to Map Viewer. Just a couple final things to mention. They have announced as well that ArcGIS Web Editor, there's a few things they're working on in the pipeline, such as bulk attribute editing, trace and follow tools, and save and share configurations. Some final considerations for whether ArcGIS Web Editor is right for you is that it is available at creator user type and above. As I've been saying, you get that familiarity with the interface, with it being similar to Map Viewer. But a key thing to consider is that the constraints, as I showed in the demo, are applied at the time of drawing. So you are applying them to yourself as the editor, and they can't be shared with other editors. With that, I'm now going to hand it over to Molly, who's going to introduce Suite for ArcGIS.
Thanks, Claudia. Suite for ArcGIS is a web editing experience toolkit designed for data collection, featuring built-in configurable data quality checks. In terms of web editing functionality, Suite sits at the top of the scale, building upon those features that you've seen in our previous two products to provide the most advanced web editing capabilities within the ArcGIS system. Some of these additional capabilities include Suite's rules-based editing that allows you to control how and what data is collected and edited, and dynamic feedback functionality, enabling end users to make more informed decisions on the fly. Suite is versatile in its configuration, offering options to build no-code, low-code, and more advanced editing interfaces. When it comes to Suite's benefits, it's incredibly quick for end users to go through their data editing, both online and offline. And by configuring various rules, data can be collected correctly, making it very cost-effective by eliminating the need for expensive quality assurance checks, and also saving time by streamlining data collection workflows. No GIS experts are needed in the field, which allows your geospatial team to focus on the more analytical work, all while widening the user base to non-GIS specialists, helping you to get the most out of your GIS investment. So let's take a look at some of those advanced capabilities with a demonstration. So in this example, we're using a Suite app to create and assess multiple scenarios to evaluate impacts of construction on the biodiversity of a study area. With Suite, we can avail of many of the same capabilities that Claudia has shown from Web Editor, including the select tools, a range of create tools and drawing modes from standard curves to freehand, the ability to copy and paste from features, and also snapping capabilities. But while our end user could, of course, manually draw in a proposed habitat, Suite has a range of tools that really streamline the editing process for end users, allowing complex editing to be completed by non-GIS experts, all while giving that confidence that this will be done correctly. For instance, dynamic feedback can provide my editors with context ahead of applying any changes. For instance, warning me of a nearby construction zone and even prohibiting me from adding a habitat or a public pathway and providing the reasoning as to why. With rules-based editing functionality, when a user attempts to create a proposed habitat outside of the study area, Suite recognizes this potential mistake and will automatically clip this to my boundary, avoiding any cleanup later down the line. So what magic is happening in the backend to enable this? If we jump to the backend of Suite, you'll see that we have it split into two editors. The first of which is the wireframe editor. This is where you configure your end user experience, the look and feel of the application, but also what tools are available. There's a lot you can do here, but for this example, if I click my data, this is where you can add in that dynamic map feedback we just saw for the construction zone and path warning. In our last web editing webinar, we showed you how to configure this HTML label feedback. So I'd highly recommend checking that out. If we switch to our data rules editor, this is where we configure the underlying rules that data must follow. Topology rules are where you add spatial constraints. For single layers, this can include the likes of whether my polygon can have holes or can overlap with other features in the layer. And if we switch to multi-layer, this is where you regulate how layers can interact with one another. If you remember when my habitat polygon snapped to the study area boundary, this was set up here as my study area is required to be covered by this habitat layer. But Suite's strength truly lies in its flexibility, allowing GIS users to configure applications that really align with their requirements and workflows. So in this example, my organization are proposing adding a car park here and we need to look for ways to offset any potential biodiversity loss. This particular Suite application has been configured to allow me as an end user to access my assigned tasks through a custom jobs panel accessible from my user profile, configured by my GIS team back in the office. When I select my task, I can access further details. And in this case, one of the tasks I've been assigned is to assess the potential biodiversity benefits of adding a pond around the proposed business building. So I can start task once I have this info in hand. And as you can see, this zooms into the specific area in question and opens up the relevant properties panel that gives me all of the background information that I need. So this has been configured through custom panels, and custom panels are configurable interface elements that can be customized to display information and guide users through complex processes and interactive tools to really simplify editing. This particular panel has been set up with a table of tasks or jobs, as you can see when I hop into my panel editor, and it has been linked to the relevant data set in my ArcGIS system, which could be linked to the likes of an assignment service from ArcGIS Workforce to provide an even more integrated workflow. From this table, actions can be configured, and while we won't cover the entire workflow today, just to give you a quick glimpse of how this is set up, I'll hop into my script for my start task functionality. And here you will see an arcade expression divided into 3 parts that enables the following actions to occur when you select Start Task. Firstly, to pan to the job's location. Secondly, to select the relevant feature. And thirdly, to open the associated panel. If Arcade Esri's expression language is not too familiar to you, please don't worry, as there are examples you can work from within the Suite application, alongside a range of resources on the ArcGIS developers website, Arcade Playground, and our Esri UK Arcade blogs. So enough chatting, it's time for me to actually get on with my tasks, adding in this pond layer. But firstly, I want to check the biodiversity of the area to begin with. So here I'll open up another custom panel where I can view the current biodiversity score alongside the breakdown of habitats. So I will be adding in my pond now that I have this information using a smart templates functionality. And I think this is a real hero for Suite for those features that you find yourself actively drawing. And once we have this added in, we'll give it a second to load. And you'll see my biodiversity score dynamically change and improve. And just to hop into the Suite editor just once more to give you a look at how this is configured and how you could go about configuring these dynamic actions. Here you can see my habitat pie chart is set up using another arcade script. So we'll hop in here. And to break it down for you, this script selects a specific land parcel based on user input, identifies intersecting habitats from the habitat layer, calculates their areas, and then summarizes the total area for each habitat type to display in the pie chart. So this is just one example of how you can really streamline your users' editing experience by implementing rules-based editing to prevent errors, offering them a clear view of their tasks and the necessary information and location of these tasks, and a dynamic overview of the potential biodiversity impacts of their changes. Now let's explore another example while still guiding your users through a workflow takes a slightly different approach. In this application, built for route diversions for an upcoming community event, Suite's custom panels powered through Arcade guide end users through the editing process. As you can see, this app has been really designed with non-GIS experts in mind, leading them through each step of the process with user-friendly button functionality. And if I zoom into the area where I want to add in my route diversion, we'll select the first step, which is to get the route ID. And you'll see that this has been automatically added to the application. And now I'm ready to move on to step 2. And you'll notice that I wasn't able to proceed until the next step, until the previous one has been enabled, which really gives you a lot more control over the editing workflow. Now I'll begin to use Suite's follow tool, which is really helpful for quick and efficient editing, as it's following a pre-existing layer, which is OS Open Maps. And I can add in my relevant information, route ID 4, for a planned event. And now I'm ready to continue on to my next step, which is adding in my sign. So I can add in some signage here. And as you can see, this is immediately flagged up an issue that this must be on a diversion route. So I can simply relocate this using my favorite magnifying tool. And we're good to go and ready to complete the diversion route. And with that, complete the workflow. So hopefully this shows that Suite for ArcGIS understands that one size doesn't fit all and gives that flexibility to tailor the editing experience to your unique requirements. And today I have really just scratched the surface of the options you have available to you and the extent of complexity that you can bring to your Suite applications. But hopefully this gave you a flavor of the customization and control you can really have. Some other features of Suite we have not had time to cover today include, but extend beyond, our webhooks, startup workflows, feature templates, version management, and exporting applications. And looking to the horizon, we have some really exciting new additions coming to Suite version 8.5 later this year, which includes subtype group layer support for the new ArcGIS field types, a new user interface using Calcite, and new Suite help documentation. Before I wrap up, there's just a couple of considerations here. So Suite for ArcGIS is available both for ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. It is an additional license to your named user licensing, but there are two available, the Suite Builder and the Suite Data Editor. If you have any questions on the licensing, please do reach out to your account manager. And on that's it from me. So I'll hand it back over to you, Claudia.
Thank you, Molly. Let me just share my screen. So we really hope that those series of demos have been a good introduction as to the different web editing capabilities we have across ArcGIS, and hopefully you're a little bit more aware of maybe which might suit your web editing workflows as well. So this webinar is part of a monthly series, and we'd love to welcome you back next month, where we'll be looking at coordinating your workflows and collaborating in ArcGIS. So this is across ArcGIS. We'll be looking at a series of different tools, before then focusing on the ArcGIS Workflow Manager and how that can help you to coordinate your workflows across different applications in ArcGIS as well. So all that's left to say now really is we'll jump into our Q&A. So thank you to everyone who's already submitted all of your questions. There's been plenty of upvoting as well. So thank you very much. But feel free to continue adding your questions and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So I'll welcome back all of our presenters from today. And we'll go into the Q&A. So Freya, I think you've got a couple ready to go.
Yeah, I've got a couple that I can kick us off with. So first of all, in Web Editor, can you trace master map data? So trace is not currently supported in Web Editor, but as Claudia did mention, it's in the product roadmap, so that should be coming soon. And then secondly, we've got in Web Editor, do you have any snapping tools to prevent errors when creating? And snapping is supported within Web Editor and was included just quickly in Claudia's demo as well. So yes, absolutely, snapping tools are available. And then we had a couple as well referring to whether all the Suite functionality will be ported to Web Editor and are they on two separate roadmaps? And yes, they are on two separate roadmaps, and Suite will continue to provide value separately from Web Editor, mostly due to the customization available and the advanced editing within Suite as compared to Web Editor. So yes, they are on two separate roadmaps.
Brilliant. I can take a couple, I guess, firstly, thank you actually to Ellie for your comment. It's the most upvoted question we've got, and it's just a lovely comment. So thank you very much for that, Ellie. And then hopping down to the next one, are these advanced editing capabilities going to be available on the Experience Builder edit widget at any stage? That would be really beneficial. So I'm not aware of this being in the Experience Builder roadmap for that particular widget. What I would say is the ideas page on the Esri community, the product teams look at these kind of comments that you guys bring day in, day out to try and bring the functionality that you guys require. So please do take that idea to Esri community, and also have a look at what else is on there, because sometimes you might find that someone else has also had the same idea as you, and you can then upvote the existing one to really get it kind of on the product team's radar. So definitely do that, James, for that one, but I'm not aware of it currently being on the roadmap. And then jumping just down, there's one. So I noticed the web editor is only available to creator and above. However, it's to be an editing tool. Are there any plans to make it accessible to contributors? So at this stage, yes, so it's at Creator, Professional, and Professional Plus have access to the ArcGIS Web Editor. I'm not aware of any plans for that to change. So I guess, again, I'd recommend doing the same with the community. I don't know of any roadmap for that to change with the web editing access. So possibly another idea to raise on the Esri community there. And then, Catherine, I think you've got the next one. Do you want to take that one?
Yes. So the question was, is there a way to limit what each user can do regarding editing? And just as I showed in the slides, as the owner of the feature layer or an admin, you can change the settings on the hosted feature layer and control who can edit this. And further still, I will put a link into the reply on the question. But there is a section of documentation where you can control edit access based on an editor's username, which I think kind of will answer the example that you've got in your question, which is I would like one user to edit attributes, but others to do like geometry and feature attributes. So if you configure this in this way, if you are the owner or the admin, that will be able to feedback who is editing and what they can edit as well.
Fantastic, thank you, Catherine. So Freya, the next one I think you've got, will ArcGIS Web Editor stay as a lightweight version of Suite, or will the functionality eventually match or overtake Suite?
Yeah, so I suppose I wrapped that one up in the last one that was quite similar. So they are on two separate roadmaps, and they do offer different value, different functionalities. And at the moment, it's planned to stay that way.
Fantastic, thank you. I think you've got a couple more I can see on the web editor. Do you want to take that one as well, Freya?
Which ones are these, sorry?
Sorry, so we've got one in web editor. Do you have any snapping tools so that no overlap topology errors can occur when creating?
Answered those ones.
Okay, brilliant. Let me tick those off for you then.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, all these questions. We're just trying to sift through them. Feel free to keep answering, and we can do about 5 minutes or so more, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. So we've got one here. Which version of ArcGIS Enterprise will all of this editor functionality be introduced in, and when will that version be released? So we believe it's going to come in autumn, between, so maybe towards the end of this month or into September. So it's with part of the 11.3 release that came earlier in the year, and the web editor, should come within the next month or so. We don't have any kind of further details than that at the moment, but it will come with the next release of Enterprise. And then we've also got, will these selection tools be available in Web Map Viewer or kept separately, in Web Editor? Again, so similar to what I was saying earlier, this isn't something that I believe is in the roadmap for Map Viewer. If there is kind of a use case you see for having it kept separate from Map Viewer versus moving it into the web editor, then please do submit that idea via Esri community. And as I said, the product teams do have a look at those ideas that are coming in, so definitely worth having a look there. Okay, so we've got a few more. Freya, is Suite suitable for editing layers with related tables?
Yes, so that is fully supported in Suite.
Fantastic, nice easy one. Okay, so we've got, do logical form expressions have the same functionality against non-hosted feature layers referencing enterprise geodatabase data? Um, that is a good question. I don't know, Catherine, do you know any more on that, or anyone, any other presenters? I couldn't say with confidence as to whether it does have that same functionality. I don't know if anyone else on the call is aware of this.
I'm not 100% either, but I know that non-hosted feature layers referencing enterprise geodatabases may have some limitations with the advanced expressions that you may put in. But yeah, it would be for us to get back to you on, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll have to have a look at documentation there, and get back to you on that one. Apologies, that's a good question, but it's not something that I've done before, so I couldn't say confidently with that one. Um, just hopping down, is there a way to add or create new records to a dashboard rather than just editing an existing data? So this no is the simple answer. So the editing capabilities that Dashboard does have, it's come with the latest release, and it is just simply editing existing features. So that's the only capability that the update has brought. So what Catherine showed in her demo is the kind of extent of the editing capability. So it's definitely only just being able to edit existing, but it was definitely a nice addition to dashboards. But if it is something that you're looking at, being able to create new directly within a dashboard interface, as with the previous, I recommend going to Esri Community and submitting that as an idea. Let's just tick that one off. So is there a plan to add an attribute filter widget to either Web Editor or Suite? So I can speak on behalf of Web Editor that there's not at the moment, and I'm not sure whether it's coming or not in the roadmap. I've not seen it in any roadmap for Web Editor, so it might be the same case heading to Esri Community. I don't know if Freya, if you know anything about this in terms of Suite's roadmap.
Yeah, for Suite, this is not in our roadmap at the moment.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. A question shot up to the top there. So will we share the webinar slides? So yes, we'll share the recording to the email that's going to be sent afterwards. So you'll get both the recording as well as we've referenced a few different resources throughout this webinar. They're different, so there's various different webinar recordings or blogs or learning plans to help you with what's already been spoken about today and kind of expand that learning from today. So there'll be all those different resources as well as the webinar recording on that follow-up email that you'll be getting shortly. Do any of these apps include a print customized tool? So anyone feel free to jump in here, but I think the answer is no. There is some editing functionality in Experience Builder, so there's an editing widget, and then within Experience Builder, you can customize a print widget within there. So I believe that would be your best workflow for that question. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add, if there's any kind of other functionality within that across other apps, but no, I don't think so is the answer. So I reckon Experience Builder is the best one if you're looking for that functionality alongside editing capabilities. Okay, should we try get through just a couple more? So Molly, there's one here. Does Suite require one license for each editor?
Yes, it does indeed. So you'll need to purchase an editor license to then be bolted on to an associated name user license. So that would be compatible with a contributor or above.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, how many more can we get through? So will Web Editor support editing utility networks feature, or do we need UNE to update utility networks feature? Freya, I don't know if you'll know more about this than me. I don't think it's a functionality coming to Web Editor. I think if it is, am I right in saying that it's coming just to Enterprise Web Editor? Is that right? I don't know if you know more than this than me,
Yeah,
Freya.
no, I don't believe that it's something that's coming soon. No, I agree.
Yeah, so I think UNE is definitely the preferred app to support you with editing utility networks for that one. Um, Again, Freya, I don't know if you know about this. Is Suite supporting any other API to customize editing network layers?
I'm not entirely sure about this off of the top of my head. Yeah, I would have to have a look.
Fantastic, thank you. Just a couple more, so we're overrunning now, but I can see Molly, have you got I think you've got a couple answers. So are the editing tools available in web scenes?
Yeah, so I something I did just want to note on this question, and maybe Claudia, you'd be able to speak to the web editor side of things, but
Mhm.
there are some exciting new editing capabilities that have come out for our 3D scenes. So we can send over some resources on that if required, but on editing constraints and the likes. And this was covered at our UC plenary sessions as well. So yeah, I'd highly recommend taking a look at that in there.
Definitely. And then just one more, I think, to wrap up before we need to finish. Is Suite the only app you can take out into the field, Molly?
Yes, most certainly not. There are a range of applications that you can take out onto the field depending on the level of complexity, the level of experience of your end users. And these would touch on ArcGIS Field Maps, ArcGIS Survey 123, ArcGIS Quick Capture. I think I may have covered them all, but yeah, there's a lot out there. Please do check out some of our previous webinars which cover field data collection to give you better insight into those options.
Fantastic. Thank you, Molly. I think that's a nice comment to close on. We've got through almost all of the questions. Thank you so much to everyone who has submitted them. And thank you to all of our presenters for today. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and please do make sure to join us again for next month's webinar. Thank you, everyone.